Yesterday at the White House, spokesperson Carolyn Leavitt was pressed on the question of how is it appropriate that son-in-law Jared Kushner, who no longer has an official role in the White House, but does have business entanglements all throughout the Gulf, is allowed to be involved with those countries. Let's roll this.
How did the White House decide that it is appropriate for Jared Kushner to be working on matters that involve Qatar, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, three countries that combined have given him more than $2.5 billion for his investment firm?
I think it's, frankly, despicable that you're trying to suggest that it's inappropriate for Jared Kushner, who is widely respected around the world and has great trust in relationships with these critical partners in these countries, to strike a 20-point comprehensive detailed peace plan that no other administration would ever be able to achieve. And so Jared is donating his energy and his time to our government, to the President of the United States, to secure world peace. And that is a very noble thing.
20-point plan has not actually been accepted yet by Palestinian factions. We're waiting on word on that. Jeremy Scale at Dropsite has a good story, interviewing a top PHA official and others or top Hamas official on where they stand on that. But setting that aside, there's something so deeply instructive about the Carolyn Leavitt finding it offensive to even suggest that $2.5 billion might influence Jared Kushner's objectivity.
Well, he's widely respected around the world, right?
He's very widely respected around the world. Yeah. The elephant in the Middle East has been Steve Witkoff, who is friends with friends and probably frenemies, because they're both in real estate and development. So they're both raising money from the Gulf. So that puts them in competition and in some harmony here and there. Witkoff himself has been, working on issues all over the world, but in particularly the Gulf, while his two sons, Zach and Alex Witkoff, have been going around the globe with their tin cup out, filling it with either Bitcoin or dollars. We can put up this next element up on the screen. This New York Times investigation into Alex Witkoff, where Mideast envoy pitched peace. His son pitched investors, and they have him dead to rights here. So basically, as Witkoff is working on the ceasefire framework, and with Qatar as the mediator with the most amount of influence over Hamas, Alex Witkoff of the Witkoff Group, which also has Steve Witkoff as a member, like Steve Witkoff sold some of his shares, but is still an owner of the Witkoff Group. Even if he wasn't, it's his son's. So you're not delinking that.
Yes.
But he still is literally an owner of the Witkoff Group. So his son Alex goes to the Gulf and hits up the Qataris and says, "We want money for the Witkoff Group. Like, give us money for these investments." And the Qataris confirmed it. The history here is very instructive. In 2017, when Jared Kushner was actually in the White House, his company went to Qatar to try to get a bailout for their 666 Fifth Avenue property. So in 2007, Kushner at the time bought, I think it was for $1.8 billion, the biggest Manhattan real estate purchase in history. And then like the next week, the bottom fell out of the real estate market, and the Kushner family, because of this Jared Kushner folly, was looking at destitution. The loans were coming due, to 10-year loans. The loans are coming due 2017. He goes to the Gulf as he's a White House official, hits up the Qataris for money. They look at it and they're like, this is a terrible investment. And they turn him down. They thought they were getting an investment offer. This was not an on the up and up commercial transaction. This was a shakedown. Within weeks of them saying no to this, the UAE and Saudi Arabia nearly invade with their actual militaries. Instead, they launch a blockade.
Yes, I remember this.
On the economy of Qatar, which had a base with 10 to 20,000 service members. Rex Tillerson immediately comes in and slams Saudi Arabia and the Emiratis, saying, "What are you doing? These are our allies. We have a base here. You cannot blockade this country." Jared Kushner comes in, and all of this has been since been reported and was reported at the time by us. He comes in and says, oh, no, it's fine. We're siding with Saudi Arabia and the Emiratis over the Qataris here. That blockade lasted all the way through the Trump administration, badly damaged the Qatari economy. Only when Biden came in did they finally lift it. And I talked to a very high-level official from Qatar who said, if we had known what the cost was going to be of saying no to the Kushners, we would have paid it. We wish we had paid it.
Yeah.
So that sets up Witkoff. And so although Kushner, day 2 of like his post White House time, gets a $2 billion investment from Saudi Arabia into this,
which we've extensively talked about.
Private equity fund, which is there's no evidence they've invested any of it.
Well, and you remember, Ryan, that the internal documents released by the New York Times, they were like, this isn't a good investment, but we're going to do it.
Kenny Clips got some of those documents.
Yeah, they were like, well, we're going to do it because of the state power involved. $2.5 billion is nothing, paid for level of influence in the potential future next administration.
Right.
And of course, Jared Kushner was present at the press conference with Prime Minister Netanyahu and Trump talking about the Gaza-Lago future development, which he, of course, has been pitching privately since before the November 2000 election.
Right, exactly. And so when, and Kushner actually instructed the Tony Blair Institute back in the spring, Times of Israel just reported this, instructed Tony Blair Institute to come up with a post-war plan for redevelopment. And then Trump puts Tony Blair.
I did not know that.
And,
that's crazy.
And Larry Ellison has given or pledged $350 million to the Tony Blair Institute. Wow. So this is an Ellison project over here. And so that is the context for when Alex Witkoff is going to Doha asking for investments. They understand that this is not here's a pitch deck and we think that you're looking at a good 4.5% to 5.5% return on your investment. It's a nice little country you've got here. Real shame if something would happen to it. And so the Witkoffs are deeply in bed with the Qataris, which goes to the point that you were making at the top of the program. You get the Israelis complaining a lot about Witkoff's relationship with Qatar, and it's like, okay, you know what?
Yeah, we're going to give it to him.
As they say in Ireland, fair play.
Yeah, we're giving it to him.
Yes.
To be fair, the Qataris say that they did not invest actually in the fund, at least this specific time. They do note, quote, as recently as May, the Witkoff Group did receive some $100 million from a financial trust that is run by the private equity firm Apollo Global, which is partly owned by Qatar.
They're going to find some way to not piss them off.
The Witkoff family's relationship with Qatar traces back to the first Trump administration, including Steve Witkoff. By the time Trump was back in the White House, the relationship had evolved, and the Witkoff Group saw Qatar as a, quote, go-to source of funding. Now, the current White House is defending it, saying this is a smear of Steve Witkoff. They say Qatar has used its $557 billion sovereign wealth fund to amass global influence in the U.S. Focal point has been real estate investment, and that they have pounded more than $4 billion into the Manhattan real estate market alone, including the Plaza, the St. Regis, and a stake in the Empire State Building. Now, this has basically been a Gulf project now for some time, right? This is the Witkoffs, Jared Kushner. This gets to the original question. But what I have not stopped being able to think about is Jeremy Scahill in our reaction to the Trump deal. He was like, look, Trump has an enormous amount of dollar signs in his eyes. And that's part of the reason that this deal may get done. And I was like, oh, man, that is dark to think about in terms of why his own personal influence may want to see something like this happen. And Jared Kushner's presence there is not a surprise. By the way, all of this is a lead-in to an extraordinary diplomatic development that is honestly insane. Let's go and put this up here on the screen. Trump has now given Qatar a, quote, unprecedented security guarantee after the Israeli attack. He says, an executive order signed by President Trump Monday would provide Qatar a security guarantee with conditions similar to NATO's Article 5. Everybody keep in mind, NATO Article 5. By the way, I have a lot of issues with NATO, as anybody who watches this show knows. At the least, NATO is ratified by the U.S. Senate, okay? Right. There's a legal process through which we all agree, I guess, that we're going to die for North Montenegro, Macedonia, or whatever. Stupid, in my opinion, but whatever. It's still ratified by our democratic process. Well, This is just by executive fiat that the United States will have similar Article 5 protection. They say the unprecedented security agreement says it will treat any armed attack on the country as a threat to the peace and security of the United States. I do not think people understand how insane it is to have an executive fiat order security guarantee. Not only is that not how it's supposed to work, it's wild. And it's one of those where, look, to the original premise of the question, does Qatari influence on the Trump people's orbit have anything to do with this? I cannot rule that out. I cannot rule that out at this time. Right?
I mean, can you imagine how pure a soul you would have to be for billions of dollars not to have any influence on you?
Right, of course. It's just nonsensical.
People are swayed by like a free app.
You're exactly right.
Appetizer, not a free app on your phone.
Free app. Well, probably a free app.
Probably a free app on your phone too.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, it's like, you know, getting a $2.50 discount at Starbucks is enough to like cause a line for the drive-through everywhere. It's what, billions of dollars? Not going to have any impact. I mean, I think it has not come under nearly enough scrutiny. Right now, it's mostly the pro-Israel side, which is furious with Trump for giving this security guarantee for Qatar. But this is the issue with the entire U.S.-Israel relationship. Trump brings Bibi here. He's like, you need to call and apologize. And Bibi's like, okay, you know, whatever, right? He calls and he apologizes.
They released the photo of him apologizing.
Releasing the photo of Trump holding the phone, and it's great, you know, good optics. But then instead of telling Israel, hey, don't ever do that again, we just invent some NATO Article 5 thing for Qatar to get them to serve as the mediators. Isn't there a much easier way to achieve what we're trying to do here? To try and make sure that there's no attacks on Qatar, which is what? Who's causing them? Israel, right? Israel bombs Iran, which bombs Qatar, or whatever, fires missiles at Qatar, face saving, we all move on. Great, all right? How do you stop that? Don't let Israel bomb Iran. Simple. Don't let Israel bomb Qatar. Simple. Why do we allow this to happen?
Yeah, because
we have to invent all of these quasi-solutions.
Right, and
to a singular problem.
Right, they don't trust Israel, and they also don't trust us, because there's this gaping open question that says, wait a minute, there's an American military base right outside of Doha. How did Israel pull off a bombing if you say you didn't know about it?
Yeah.
What good is your American military base if planes can just fly in?
This is a legit question.
And drop
Part of the why I
bombs.
don't buy their
Of course, like there had to be a stand down order, like, because you've got people on the radar being like, this plane is not on anybody's like manifest. What's it doing? It's heading for downtown Doha. And they're like, just leave it alone. We're good. Otherwise, it's like, what are you doing in this country? And so, as Jeremy Scahill also reported at Dropsite, 2 Arab sources told him that Marco Rubio told the Qataris that he could not promise that Israel would not hit them again.
Wow.
Nobody in the U.S. has reported that because they don't have the Arab sources on that, and of course Rubio's not going to say it.
Yeah.
But they didn't deny it when we went for comment. And so, if you're the Qataris,
How can you not guarantee that?
you've just been told.
Yes.
Trump said they're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Rubio, I don't know if they're going to do
They
it.
could do it.
They might.
Yeah.
So then they go back to Trump and they're like, we need a security guarantee. We need this in writing that you will go to war with whoever attacks us. And Trump is like, all right.
Yeah, I guess he just didn't really think about it. What, Qatar's got no, they have, you know, like you just said, they're beefing with Saudi Arabia, with the UAE. What are we doing here? You know, this
That'd
is
be
supposed
funny.
to come.
The Emiratis go after them.
Right,
Now
exactly.
we're at war
It's
with the
conceivable.
Emiratis.
It's definitely conceivable. Yes.
I'm sure we have kill switches in all of their weapons, so that
Yeah, you're right,
presumably would be a pretty quick war.
It's such a, you know, you really do have to marvel at the wisdom of the Gulf, because for years they were like, look, all we have to do is bribe these people. You know, we'll pay them $100 billion, dollars, Saudi Arabia, all this money, EA Sport. Eventually we need to do a segment about that, the whole EA Sports thing.
Yeah, they're buying Madden.
It's kind of crazy.
Saudi Arabia's
actually.
buying Madden.
Yeah, they're taking it private with who? Jared Kushner. Oh,
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
It's like, okay. But you put all this together, and just the way that this is all working, this is nuts. Like in terms of personal relationship, the White House being like he's a world respected. No, he's not. Okay, he's a joke. Everybody who's ever dealt with him knows he is a complete joke. The only reason that he has any money right now is because of his previous influence with the Trump family. Prior to that, him, his father, and all that, not a great reputation. Everybody knew it, and it's only because of his access to power and potential influence here on Trump that we are where we are. And they're denigrating that. They're signing security guarantees with Qatar. And then this Witkoff thing, as I said, you know, the Zionists have attacked him for a while as a Qatari asset, which they also ignore that Bibi's inner circle is also potentially a Qatari asset.
Yes.
Whatever. They're not consistent on the point.
They took
but
money from Qatar.
As honest people here, Ryan, we have to admit, it's not looking good here for the Witkoff group and their own potential influence.
And this was the most likely way it was going to unfold once the U.S. after World War II was like, we're going to do this in dollars, and we're going to just absolutely flood these families, not even countries, basically.
Right.
We're just going to flood these families, the Saud family, et cetera, with ungodly amounts of wealth. They're going to then have to have these giant pools of capital that they're going to figure out what to do with. And our political system is going to figure out a way to make sure that they're basically forced to reinvest it all back here in bribes here in the United States.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.